fourcornersproject.org here in Beit Shemesh, Israel. Special show number 77. It is a fabulous night and day for those of you that are in America. We have with us in studio one of the most legendary schlockers, the original drummer on the first album, Learning is Good, and he did a lot of other things as well. Chuckie Epstein. All right. Welcome, Chuckie.
Thank you. So nice to be here.
Fantastic. So we're going to do a little bit of a different type of a show today because Chuckie has got an interesting career, which he'll tell us about towards the end of our interview. But let's start off with the music stuff, because the music stuff, obviously, is what connects Chuckie and I. And we go back, I'm going to say, NCSY, Seaboard Region, 1983. Or it might have been 84. I don't 100% know, because I don't know how old you were back then, but you were playing guitar. Now, Chuckie Epstein, at that point, comes onto the bandstand, and he is in, got to be 10th grade, 9th, 10th, or 11th grade, right?
Less. So I started NCSY when I was still in junior NCSY when I was in 5th grade, which was like a grade earlier than junior NCSY really is supposed to be. And Ruach was the band at the time.
Right.
I was playing guitar then. You know, they keep turning me down, I keep turning myself up, and so on and so forth. But
the old volume wars. Volume wars.
But I don't know what year. What year did Kesher start?
So 83. March of 83 was junior regional at Beth Tefillah. That was our first gig.
So I was 13.
To Seaboard Region.
I was 13 in 83. So what grade are you in when you're 13?
Yeah, 8th grade. You would have probably been in 8th grade.
Okay.
8th or 9th, but I don't think you were in 9th yet. I think you were in 8th.
Okay.
Now, for those of you out there that are big schlockers, of course, I'm familiar with Eitan G. Eitan G and Chuckie were the same age, and they were, at that point.
He's got a year on me.
You didn't really know each other yet, right?
Eitan's a year older than me. He's just mentally.
Oh, I did not know that. Eitan is a year older than you. Okay, so, but still, I remember Eitan G around the time that I met you. So we are at this Shabbaton. Chuckie comes on with his guitar, and I don't remember having volume wars with you, but I got to tell all the fans out there and all the friends out there that there are lots of times when the band leader fights with the guitar player, because the guitar player can never hear himself, and the band leader is saying, you're too loud, right?
That's assuming that it's a good guitar player, and they're all like that. But no, the problem was everyone wanted to turn me down because I couldn't play well at all.
Right. Now, what ends up, yes, but yet you did play that Shabbaton on guitar, at least a couple of songs here and there. Now, what happens at that point is you switch to drums. Now, were you taking drum lessons at the same time?
I don't remember when I took drum lessons, and I only took for a very short period of time. And I don't think that I should credit too much to those years. I'm mostly self-taught. But I had a band when I was still in Beth Tefillah, before I went to TA for high school, and we had rehearsals in our drummer's basement. And whenever the drummer would get up and go upstairs to get a bite to eat or something, I'd put my guitar down and I'd run around behind his drum set and start whacking them. And one thing led to another, and it was a little natural for me. So
you know how unusual it is for a drummer to be self-taught in these days. Very unusual, and actually to have made it in, and especially to have made it onto an album at the age of 17. You were 17 years old when you played on the first Schlock Rock album, drums. But I must tell the audience that what ended up happening was Chuckie went back, and I don't know what happened, Chuckie, but you had this affinity for drums. I mean, you had great equipment, and we came to the Shabbaton, and you would play, and your playing was amazing, to the point where I said, I got to get this kid on an album before, because you were about to go to Israel for the year. You remember? So we're talking December 85. December 85, we go into the studio to record Learning is Good. And and that was in New York. You had to come in from Baltimore because this is for those that don't know. Seaboard region is Baltimore, Philadelphia, Virginia. Well, at that point there was a Virginia region. Eventually,
Right.
Virginia became part of Seaboard. So Richmond, Norfolk, Newport News,
Right.
Silver Spring, Lancaster, Pennsylvania. No, Allentown was part of Jersey region. Allentown, Pennsylvania was part of Jersey region. So anyway, but the point is that we we uh, we met. You were living in Baltimore, and you came into New York to be the drummer on the first Schlock Rock album to play on the rhythm section. It was really an amazing thing. Now, also at that point in 1983, I was not Schlock Rock. When I met you, I was Kesher,
Right.
and Kesher was just starting, and we put out our first album and our second album, and you would end up playing the Shabbaton when Tzvi Pill, who was the drummer in Kesher, could not come to the Shabbaton, and you would
Not,
be the drummer.
not just that, but even when he did come to the Shabbaton, both of you guys have these huge hearts, and Svi realized that that it did something for me. Being at the Shabbaton was not part of the religious experience, was the musical experience for me, and he would get off the drums and let me play most of the sets, and he would switch off, and eventually he started bringing a bass guitar to the gigs, and he'd play on the bass guitar, or he'd just stand up there in front and sing, and he would just like let this kid do his job out of the goodness of his heart.
Right. Now, at that point, you were not yet an observant Jew. You were not a religious Jew at that point, correct? Or when
Well,
when when did
I
you
think right around my
become?
bar mitzvah time, I started keeping kosher and Shabbos, and the big stuff started right around 13 years old.
So you did. So you were observant then, because I met you already when you were 13. So you were already observant. But
Yeah.
NCSY, or known as the National Conference of Synagogue Youth, those Shabbatonim got you closer to God, and specifically the music, the Ruach Orchestra, and then Kesher, and Tzvi obviously also felt that this helped your soul, right? That the Jewish music helped your soul.
Absolutely.
It's an unbelievable thing. All right, so meanwhile we have Eitan G and we have Chuckie Epstein over here. We have Eitan G over here. The truth is, Eitan G joins the band a lot later. A lot later. You were already playing with us before. Eitan G was rapping. He was peripheral. Now, our first album, Learning is Good. You come to New York, and we are playing. Where did we record it? We recorded it at a place called 39th Street Music.
Grandpa
39th,
Studios.
yes, but Learning is Good. Grandpa Studios was the second album that you played, which was Shirei Boker,
Shirei Boker,
and that
right.
was in Brooklyn. But the
Okay.
first album, we played on 39th Street Music, which was in the middle of Manhattan. It was where Shaka Khan did a record. Ashford and Simpson did a record, and the catch was we performed from midnight to 8 a.m. We recorded from midnight to 8 a.m., and the engineer was Mick Cantarella,
That's right.
who is the first inductee into the Schlock Rock Hall of Fame, which we will have to get him on this show. I'm not sure he's going to
Yeah,
want to
wow.
come. Not sure he's going to want to come on this show, but we'll have to get him on this show. So we recorded 4 songs together. The first, we had 2 different rhythm sections. The first rhythm section was me, you. I played piano. You played drums. Mark Skyer played bass, and Yona Lloyd played guitar. And we did 4 songs. We did Johnny Be Good, which was called
Right.
Learning is Good. We did a Barbanel,
Yep.
which is Barbara Ann. And we did New Moon, which was Blue Moon.
Right.
And then we did Old Time Torah Scroll,
Right.
which was old time rock and roll. Those were the 4 songs that we played. Bless On It, Boogie in the Shul, which was a rap tune, was programmed by Shmuel Wasserman, Oliver Shalom, right? Oh no, I think he actually programmed Kotel in the Night. Maybe he might have programmed 2 songs. And then there
Great.
was another rhythm section for Jump from Van Halen, and that Dana Friedman brought in the people. Dana Friedman brought in the people. But anyway, so do you have any recollection of that midnight studio from midnight to 8 a.m.?
Absolutely, absolutely. Whoever was directing it, I don't remember his name, but I can picture him. Do you remember who's the director?
Yes, so that was Dana Friedman. That was Dana
That was
Friedman.
Dana Freeman. Okay,
Yeah.
so he introduced me to the first time I ever saw an O-ring on a snare drum. You know, just the little piece of plastic that goes right around the rim of the head.
Yes.
I'd never seen that before. Now I use it all. I've been using it ever since. But to just take the high end overtones out, and he said that this is a really good item to use on drums in a studio to get that ring out.
Wow.
So
That's
that was a
interesting.
big studio lesson for me, and I've literally been using them ever since.
And you are actually very, very much into studio recordings because what people don't know is you've played with me in all the different areas in the Baltimore, Virginia, D.C., Silver Spring, Philadelphia, Lancaster, Pennsylvania, all those areas, right?
Yeah.
And you've recorded pretty much every single performance that we've done. You bring all of this recording equipment,
I did.
right?
I did. Yeah.
And you're always trying to get the best sound possible, which is unusual because usually the musicians just come, all right, we set up, we play, right?
Right.
You weren't like that. You would come 2-3 hours before a gig. You'd have zillions of equipment, lots of equipment, and then you would set up, and then you would have to mic this and mic that, and you're miking the hot toms and you're miking the
Not
hi
just like an
hat.
overhead, not just like a one on the snare, one in the bass, one overhead. I put a drum mic on every single drum and overheads. I did the whole kit and caboodle. It was a real huge hobby for me, and I would go home afterwards and I would mix it, and I would spend days, getting just the right thing. And I listened to those things in my cars, for years. And even now, when I get an opportunity to listen back, because I don't make those kind of recordings anymore. I don't schlep all that equipment with me anymore. Even though I wish I could be recording to that quality.
Right. But that was in the 80s. That was in the mid to late 80s.
Oh, I
And
did
now,
that all in the 2000s. I schlepped
um,
that equipment forever.
you have regards from Mikey Tevner. Mikey Tevner sends regards.
Hey, Mikey.
All right. He's actually living in Israel now. He moved to Israel. And a
Cool.
shout out to Mikey. And of course to our associate producer, Judy Hertzfeld, across the glass in Clifton, New Jersey, Passaic, New Jersey. And we have to do some paperwork. We're already almost 15 minutes through this interview. This is unbelievable. But I got to keep going because I want to get us to Israel. So now you, in 1987, you head off to Israel for the year. I believe it was 87. You went for 4 years. You didn't just go for 1 year. You learned in Israel for 4 years, correct?
Correct.
All right. And something happened on Tu B'Shvat of 1991, of 1992.
Is this the Gerard Bachar Center?
No, Tu B'Shvat 1992. Tu B'Shvat 1992 was my wedding, and you played it.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So we just had our 29th wedding anniversary. Isn't that interesting?
Wow. So nice.
So Jillian sends hello to you, and the thing about it is, that you were the drummer, and yes, of course, whenever I would come to Israel, you would be the drummer. We played at the Gerard Bahar Center. We play, which is in Jerusalem. Where else did you play with me? I think we played.
All over.
We played all. Yeah, we played in a lot of places in Israel.
The Gerard Bahar Center was that was just a special gig. Schlock Rock was very, very popular at the time, and we filled the place. All the Americans who were in Shiva.
Unbelievable. It was
just
unbelievable.
A venue. You're looking up, into the what are those? Not the rafters, but it was just such a big venue. I loved it.
It really was. It was unbelievable. Now, Rabbi Jeff Frances, who's also a drummer, sends regards to Captain Chuckie, which is your second career, which we were about to get into, because I want to spend time talking about that. But first, let's get back to the end of '89. You're back. The end of '80. Right. The end of '89. You're back in America, and you play on your second album with me, and that was called Shirei Boker.
Right.
Now, Shirei Boker, or Songs of the Morning, if you go on the website, theshlockrock.com, Songs of the Morning had on it 11 or 10 Hebrew songs, and 10 Hebrew songs, and from Moda'ani, from the first thing that you say in the morning, Moda'ani, all the way to the end of Korbanot, of the sacrifices that you say in the morning. It's like 11 minutes. It takes you 11 minutes if you go if you go relatively fast. It's one of those things where people don't, they skip it a lot of the times, but I think it's really important to say these things. And I wrote this whole album.
Oh, you froze. Hello, Lenny. I don't know if you can hear me. Your picture and audio completely froze, but mine didn't. When this happens live, the drummer has to just keep going. When the electricity goes out and all you guys who need electricity to make the music, the drummer's just supposed to keep going. Am I supposed to talk? What are we going to do?
Chuckie, there?
You there? Oh, yeah. Perfect.
All right. We're back. Good. We're back. We had like a 15-second freeze, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure why these things happen. I'm not sure why these happen. Oh, I'm back. And we have a lot of people that have joined us. Judy has joined us, and Andra Lee, who says, keep talking. Okay, so we're talking better. Now it's better, and we're back. So, all right, let me just do a couple of things, Chuckie, before we get to the second half of our interview. I just want to tell everybody out there, if you're watching from Facebook, give us a thumbs up, leave a comment. If you're watching from YouTube, either on the Schlock Rock channel or the Four Corners Project channel, hit like, subscribe, leave a comment. If you're watching on Twitter, at Lenny Solomon, retweet. Spread the word. Lenny Solomon Live 3 times a week here at the Four Corners Project studio in Beit Shemesh, Israel. All right. What else did I want to tell you? Oh, also, make a donation for the year. Very, very important. Make a donation. Support the work of the Four Corners Project, which enables us to make projects. I have plans to make 2 albums this year, to do music videos, to do a new webisode called Exploring Israel. And all of you guys out there, you're going to have to be coming to Israel soon. We'll get into that another time. We're not going to pressure you. Now, Chuckie, what did you do during the 15 seconds that I froze? Did you talk to them, or did you just...
I didn't know if they could hear you and not me, or if they could hear me and not you. But I was saying that when the electricity goes out on the bandstand and all you guys are dead, the drummer's supposed to just keep going. You got to keep it going. So I tried to talk for a minute or 2. I really don't know how to.
Excellent. I'll watch the show later, but I want you to know that it's true. When the sound goes out on the bandstand, the only one that can be heard is the drummer.
Yeah.
Or if they pull out the plug because we're playing too loud. I had that happen to me a bunch of times.
I know.
And the only one that gets heard is the drummer. Everybody else, we are dependent on electricity.
Yep.
All right, let's head back. So you played on Shirei Boker, great album, and through the years, whenever we played in your area, you would come with me, and you even did some road trips. Like you played Las Vegas, San Antonio, and Houston. We had a 3-city tour.
We played in Dallas. And
yes.
I loved, and the sound company gave me a drum set, and they gave me a ride cymbal, 22-inch ride cymbal that I fell in love with on that gig. So afterwards, I went home and I called the sound company and I said, I need that ride cymbal. And they said, okay, we need a brand new crash. You go out and buy the brand new crash, send it to us. We'll send you that old 1940s or whatever it is ride cymbal.
And that's what happened?
And I've been playing on that ride cymbal ever since.
I can't believe it. Because you know that the part of the the brilliance of a good drummer is the sound of his drums, how he tunes it, the crispness of the hi hat, and the snare, the sound that comes off of the snare. There's nothing quite like it. There were a couple of drummers that I've played with that had the most amazing sounds. You know
Yeah.
where. And I would love it when we would jam after the Shabbaton and we would play Billy Joel
Right.
and Joey Friedman. Rabbi Joey Friedman would love that also. We would have such a great time. All right, it's already 21 minutes in, although we had a little bit of a freeze. I just must tell you, let's talk about something that not many people know. You are Captain Chuck Epstein, and you are a pilot. You were a flight school instructor. You became a pilot. This became your career, correct?
Correct.
And you had issues like Tamir Goodman. People think Tamir Goodman, he's the Jewish Jordan, as we know him, the basketball player that was on the front page of Sports Illustrated. And he commits to the University of Maryland, and they renege on his deal where they made him, they weren't going to let him not play on Shabbat, on the Sabbath, and he had to go to Towson State. He went to Towson State instead, which was a Division I school. You also had the same issues where you had to figure out, how am I going to stay a pilot and keep and observe the Shabbat, correct?
There were challenges, that's for sure. I got into the industry and didn't think that I should fight the fight at a lower level. So I took a couple of punches early in the game. But once I was hired by a regional airline, things were very good when I was first hired, and they didn't give me any trouble. But then when oil prices went sky high and all of the airlines were folding, so like everyone else, that airline had to half its fleet and its pilot pool. So then money got tight, and then they started to try to weed out anybody who wasn't just a perfect fit. And I was always a scheduling nightmare because I was always trying to reschedule myself so that I wouldn't be scheduled on Shabbos.
Right. You had to actually trade. You would trade Friday night flight for Sunday, right? Because they would want Sunday off, so you would switch that around, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And also when you had Rosh Hashanah, you had Yom Kippur, you had to fit, and Sukkot, all the Jewish holidays, you had to figure out, how am I going to keep my, you didn't want to get them mad at you, but on the other hand, when they had to cut the budget, you became expendable.
I got a disciplinary letter put in my file because I would not come in on Yom Kippur, and I gave them plenty of notice.
Sandy Koufax and Hank Greenberg would be very proud of you. They did not pitch on Yom Kippur, and
right,
you would not fly on Yom Kippur.
I'm in good company.
Captain Chuckie Epstein would not fly on Yom Kippur.
God forbid, it wouldn't even cross my mind. But I told them, if you guys don't work with me, I'm gonna be sick on Yom Kippur. I'm giving you a warning. I'm not going to be feeling well on Yom Kippur, so I'm not coming in. And I didn't call in sick to get out of things. I always tried to switch with the scheduling department or put the trip up on the pilot board in the pilot lounge, so somebody else would take it. I would pay them to take my trip. I always found another way out of it. I didn't want to call in sick for that, but I warned them ahead of time. And when I actually had to do it, they put a disciplinary letter in my file. And then they went out with this.
Right. You had to take the hit. You took the hit, but I want you to know that this year, because I had Corona on Yom Kippur, I had the COVID-19. I had to eat on Yom Kippur. I had to drink on Yom Kippur. It was very, very weird, very weird experience. Because at Yom Kippur, I'm always the cantor. I'm the chazan.
Right.
I'm the one leading the services, and not only was I not leading the services, I couldn't leave my room. And I actually was instructed, you have to drink, you have to eat. And these were rabbis telling me, not just doctors. The doctors, of course, they told me.
So
but, the rabbis said,
right? We have to live according to the mitzvahs, and they make a deal, live and not die.
That's right. You have to live by the Torah, not die by the Torah. You don't want to die, you want to live.
Right.
So even though it was a very strange Yom Kippur this year for me, and also the first day of Sukkot, the first day of the festival of Sukkot, I was stuck in my room. I couldn't even come out. I finally got out in the middle of Sukkot and in time to have a good Simchat Torah. But it's a very interesting thing, and you came out of it because now you tell the audience what you do now. You run a flight school. Is that correct?
I'm chief flight instructor at a large, mostly Israeli flight school in Gaithersburg, Maryland. It's called Washington International Flight Academy. They do it's owned by Israelis, and they do their marketing in Israel. And it's much cheaper to train in the United States. So we get an influx of Israeli students. Most of them are professionally oriented. They want to fly for airlines and such. And they'll spend a year and a half, 2 years here getting all their ratings. And we have apartments that they stay in and what have you. So we have over 20 aircraft and almost 30 instructors. And I deal mostly with the instructor body and standardize them and train them the way that I want things to go and make procedure over here. And they carry the students. And I'll do things like stage checks for their students. So I'll evaluate their students at certain intervals to make sure they're ready to go on to the next phase.
That's very nice. That's very nice. That's unbelievable. And have you given up the music business?
No, not at all. I still play with Nancy Gross's band, Zemmer Orchestras in Baltimore. So, whenever there's a local wedding, we always try to be there.
So Chuckie Epstein is still doing both piloting, teaching other pilots how to become pilots, and he is the drummer for the Zemmer Orchestra. For those of you that are in the Baltimore area, the Zemmer Orchestra is a great orchestra. I happen to know Nasi Gross, who's the owner. Fantastic, and they have a great sound. As a matter of fact, I heard some very good stories when Steven Spielberg came to the Simcha and Nasi had you guys play all of the soundtracks from his movies.
It was in Silver Spring. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. He used to. I used to love that story when he used to tell that story. But anyway, so Chuckie, I got to tell you, it's been great having you. Is there anything that you would like to tell the Four Corners Project audience, the Schlock Rock audience, the Kesher audience, the people, the maybe Mitchell Jasper will be watching from the old days? I'm not sure, but I'll have to tell him to tune in because I now mentioned his name. But he's also from the old school, as they say. Is there anything that you'd like to tell anybody out there?
Yeah, I want to tell everybody that those were my formative years back in NCSY, and I forged this like lifelong, really close friendship with Lenny, and Lenny's just one of the most special people with the biggest heart, and he helps anybody he can help, and he was a major factor in my musical career, and because the music was so connected to Yiddishkeit and NCSY, that it was just a source of nourishment for me, and I wouldn't have turned out the same way. So Lenny, I have a big, huge hakaras hatov, a lifelong hakaras hatov to you, and you've touched so many people. You're just incredible. I'm a big.
Oh, we lost you. We lost you, Chuckie. Oh, you're back. 1 minute. You see, they wouldn't let you. They wouldn't let you flatter me anymore. What happened, Chuckie? We lost you in the middle of the speech, but that was a great speech. You don't have to finish it. Oh, there's Stacy Volk who says hello.
Hi, Stace.
And Andra Lee, he does good music. She says, and you got a Yasha Koach from Judy Hertzfeld in Clifton. Listen, I want to just tell everybody out there, it's been great having Chuckie Epstein, one of the Schlock Rock Hall of Famers. You guys, if you haven't heard the Shirei Boker album, if you haven't heard Learning is Good, there are 2 out of the 39 albums. All of it is great stuff. And if you're in the Baltimore area and Schlock Rock is coming and giving a concert, you know Chuckie will probably be on the drums if he's available, and he usually is. And the thing is that we have to first get past COVID, which is why we are we are doing virtual shows. But Chuckie, it's been great having you on.
Thank you for having me, Lenny. It was awesome.
It's my pleasure. Everybody out there, show number 78 is this Monday night. It'll be a music show. 79 will be Wednesday, and the 80th show next Thursday. We have got great stuff for you. Monday night is Winnipeg Jets night, just letting you know, for all the Winnipeg Jets hockey fans. And as we march through the albums, we've been doing one song from each of the albums, and we're up to the year 2012, I believe. Oh, no, we're up to Shabbat in Liverpool, 2010. So we're almost finished with that. And then we got to play Minion Man. We got to play the hits because the people want to hear the hits, you know? Chuckie, the people want to hear the hits.
Sure.
But everybody out there, give just a refuah shlema for Miriam Dodi bat Chana Yochevet, Esther Tzipora bat Laila, Shmuel Michael ben Malka, Yitzhak ben Yenta, and Aliza bat Sheva. Say Tehillim for anybody out there that needs, Psalms. They need a complete refuah shlema. They need a complete bill of health from Hashem. We're going through some rough times with the COVID, but we will get through it, everybody. We will get through it. Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here at Lenny Solomon Live. Show number 77 with Chuckie Epstein. We will see you on Monday night. Have a Shabbat Shalom and keep on shlocking.